last night was the 90th Annual Academy Awards. The broadcast, Stella and I have done an entire series about the films because we watched all but 4 of the nominated films. And,
very long series.
Yes, and now we're going to be talking about the broadcast itself. We're going to talk about our favorite moments. We're going to talk about who they left out of the In Memoriam, and we're also going to be discussing the theme in a very special episode of the Academy Awards.
You're going to lead this then because you put way more thought into this than I have, and I don't remember a lot.
Yeah, I've already done the research. You can just comment on it, I suppose. So the best moments of the Academy Awards, there were 3 jokes that I pulled out of Jimmy Kimmel's opening monologue that I liked. I actually pulled a fourth one, but it ended up, when I did the research, it was from the Spirit Awards. It was John Maloney and Nick Kroll's joke, so I did not include it in this because that would have been dumb. But I really, I got confused which ceremony it came from. So Jimmy Kimmel said he was talking about how much money Black Panther made. BBC kind of interestingly enough was like, oh, they're talking about how much money Black Panther made, and yet it didn't get nominated. Well, it's not.
Bitches, that came out after a season, okay?
Yeah,
y'all need to realize the season gets cut off in January.
The joke that he made later on in the ceremony was that it made so much money that it will be the movie that's not nominated next year.
It'll be neglected next year.
In reference to Wonder Woman, I believe. But
yeah, that was a disappointment.
You gotta wait till next year before nominations are up for that movie. Yeah. So, but he was talking about how much money the Best Pictures were made, and they didn't make nearly as much money as Black Panther did in its first weekend. So he said, we don't make movies like Call Me By Your Name to make money. We make them to upset Mike Pence. I thought that was a good joke.
That was one of the best ones.
And then he made a couple of jokes about the Me Too and Time's Up, not about them, but in reference to that movement. He said, here's how clueless Hollywood is about women. We made a movie called What Women Want, and it starred Mel Gibson. That's all you need to know. And I love you, Mel, but it's still a really funny joke. It's very pithy. It's funny. Sorry.
I think it's funny.
Yeah. And then he said, thanks to Guillermo del Toro, we will always remember this year as the year men screwed up so badly women started dating fish. This is where the Nick Kroll and John Mulaney joke, I will say it because it was funny.
It's funny.
Where they said, last year, all of our favorite stars died. This year, all of our favorite stars wish they were dead. In reference to the outing of all the sexual harassment going on from, seems like every day it's one of your favorite actors. Are we still allowed to enjoy Kevin Spacey's work, K-Pax? I don't remember who said that joke. Is that John Mulaney?
John Mulaney, I think.
Okay. Yeah, they did a lot more jokes about that than Kimmel did. He did a few. He did one about the Oscar statue, and it was kind of funny.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is that I think Kimmel was trying to keep everything more short, just like everyone's speeches with the jet ski.
His style is less biting than John Mulaney and Nick Kroll. His style is more slackery.
Which is why they brought him back. They didn't bring Gervais back
well,
for
Gervais
anything.
did the Golden Globes. But, yeah, his style is more... Well, I think they brought him back because they wanted to make good for last year. But his performance was adequate. He had a lot of funny moments. He kept the show going. He did his job, and he had a few good jokes. But those are the 3 that I called out. I didn't really find much more that I wanted to repeat, although he did have the jet ski gag, which was pretty funny.
I thought it was brilliant.
Whoever does the shortest speech wins a jet ski, and they have the announcer from The Price is Right and the music from The Price is Right, and it's got this jet ski spin sitting on stage, and Helen Mirren is playing the model.
That was the best part.
And then at the end, the winner of the jet ski, and there were many references throughout the show, including in the speeches, where I think...
Calm down, y'all. I'm about to try and get that jet ski.
Yeah, somebody said, I'm not here for the ski jet. Yeah, there were a lot of references and call-outs to it.
One of the technical award guys, yeah.
And at the end, the winner, who was the
cinematographer,
Tom Martin, I think was his name. I'm not going to pull it back.
I just remember it was the cinematographer winner.
But it was great because he came out riding on
the jet ski.
It wasn't the cinematographer because it was costume, best costume, from Phantom Thread, and he was riding on the jet ski wearing a vest, a safety vest.
Who was on the back?
It was Helen Mirren.
Oh, okay.
It was hilarious because they put the costume designer in a safety vest, which I thought was pretty funny. And then, of course, there was also the gag where he took volunteers from the audience across the street to thank an audience who was watching a screening of
the whole skit,
The Wrinkle in Time.
A Wrinkle in Time. They're all watching it halfway through the movie. They're just like,
and
we're going to have Wonder Woman come out.
The volunteers were fantastic. You had Guillermo del Toro and Lin-Manuel Miranda carrying out a 12-foot sandwich on their shoulders.
Then you had Gal Gadot, Margot Robbie,
there were so many people.
A couple other people just coming out with candy.
Everybody
and then you had
was great.
Armie Hammer with a fucking hot dog gun.
A
freaking hot dog gun.
And you had Mark Hamill handing out candy, which is great because it's a sci-fi movie they were watching, and they had Luke Skywalker come in.
How great
they
would
lost
it be?
Their minds.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're sitting there watching A Wrinkle in Time, you're looking at Oprah and her magical face, and then you suddenly see Luke Skywalker and Wonder Woman giving you fucking candy.
It was slightly awkward, I'd imagine, in the theater, the Dolby Theater. They had everybody sitting and watching, but it's great.
Because so bored.
Because they're watching the audience on the screen, and right front and center is Meryl Streep. Right. So it was great. I thought it was a funny gag. It worked better on television, even though it's a little long and the pacing's off. But it's live television.
Well, it's that, and it was. The thing that struck me the most is that you saw this theater having so much fun. Everyone was having so much fun. The actors, the audience, Kimmel, they loved it, and it was just thriving and going. And then you look back at the Dolby, and there was just quiet. Like they sat there.
They were playing the audience. At that
of course, but at the same time, they looked genuinely like they were dead. And I don't know if it's because they're hungry. Because I know that you go a couple hours without eating.
You're not going to scream and yell and jump around.
But I think you can still be excited about it, and you can still be having fun.
But it's cool, you got late night talk show hosts. They always do the man on the street type of bits, and to pull somebody off the street to introduce the next presenter was kind of cool. And
someone pull someone out of the chair.
It definitely beat bringing the tourists into the theater last year.
Fucking what's his name? Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
And he's just,
yeah, or the year that Ellen DeGeneres ordered pizza, although that was pretty funny too, and
it was much
chip
better.
in.
It was better paced for that though.
Yeah, so I think it worked out pretty well.
I'm sure everyone appreciated it much more because they could eat.
Right. As far as acceptance speeches go, I would suggest that everybody watches Frances McDormand's acceptance speech, Sam Rockwell's acceptance speech. Jordan Peele's was quite good too. If you're a fan of his, I would recommend it. I do have a quote from that, and I think this was probably the best acceptance speech quote for the night, except for maybe Frances McDormand's "Please stand up" if you're the real Slim Shady bit. He said, "I stopped writing this movie about 20 times because I thought it was impossible. I thought no one would ever make this movie, but I kept coming back to it because I knew if someone let me make this movie, that people would hear it and people would see it." And I think that that's anything that you're driven that is new and original and different, you're going to have those feelings. So I think that resonated. As far as presenters, the standout for me was Tiffany Haddish from Bad Moms Road Trip. Is that what it's called?
Tiffany Haddish was it's Girls Trip.
Girls Trip. And Maya Rudolph, who was in Bridesmaids.
Besides
and
them,
SNL.
The only people that were worth it too were Jodie Foster and Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, where they said that Jodie Foster was
I
Tanya'd by Meryl Streep, and then
Jennifer Lawrence
said
she tripped
she
me.
She tripped me one time because she fell down when she got her Oscar. So
if I remember correctly, Streep was near the side of the aisle.
Yeah, but it was she didn't trip her.
I don't know.
But it's
a conspiracy.
That was pretty good. But yeah, Tiffany Haddish and Maya Rudolph basically stole the show.
Oh, they brought the most energy and were the most authentic.
Yeah, the Star Wars cast almost totally blew it, except for when Mark Hamill said...
Mark Hamill kept it together.
Don't say La La Land. Don't say La La Land.
Mark Hamill kept it together. He was the best presenter, and it's kind of unfortunate that was the case. But I get it. You're nervous up there, and you only have so much time.
Well, for all of these things, it's mainly like, what did they write for them? And I think in this instance, I think Tiffany Haddish and Maya Rudolph probably wrote their own material.
That's because they're good enough to.
Yeah.
Maya Rudolph especially can write whatever the fuck she wants, and it would be great.
But they do that occasionally. They'll let, like Will Ferrell a few years ago sang a song with John C. Reilly about doing comedy bits and never getting nominated for an Academy Award. And John C. Reilly, you got to do comedy and drama, and then you'll get nominated like me. That was great. So you do get, that wasn't this show, obviously, but you do get moments like that where somebody came, Jerry Seinfeld a few years ago stole the show.
You're
the
fidgety.
back of my chair fell off. I don't know where it went. I'll do it later. But yeah, so those were the best moments. I'm not sure if I liked it the moment or not when Emma Stone introduced the nominees for Best Director and said these four men and Greta Gerwig. It definitely falls into the theme, which we'll get into later.
It would have been great if she had, I don't know. I appreciate the fact that she was emphasizing women, and there is a point that women don't get nominated for this.
Who would have gotten nominated this year except for maybe Dee Reese?
Well, I mean, you do have Del Toro, and you do have Jordan Peele as well.
It was a great category.
So,
she didn't say these two white people
and Jordan Peele and Del Toro and Gerwig.
And Greta Gerwig is a white person. I mean, you could single people out anyway. It was a really tight, great category. And yes, women need more opportunities, but that's a great category.
Right.
You couldn't put Dee Reese in that category.
Sure.
She did a great job with Mudbound, but compared to those other five,
I'm okay with the way she did it, mostly because it is more to point out that women do need more roles like that. I mean, the first female cinematographer was nominated this year. Yeah. Ever.
Yeah. Well, and Robert Deakins finally won it after 13 losses.
Right.
So,
I know, but
people pay their dues, and it's not everybody has the same opportunity, but
well, it's also more likely that women director and women writers are more likely to get passed up. So I mean.
But my point is, I don't think that happened. I think Dee Reese did a good job, but compared to the five that were nominated,
no, I was more talking about Emma Stone pointing out Greta Gerwig. So that's why I'm
Greta Gerwig did a great job. I mean, that's
why I'm okay with her pointing it out, because we do need to emphasize the fact that female directors or female writers aren't given the opportunity because their story isn't as good. Quote, quote.
Now for a segment called Also Dead. We're going to talk about all the people that were left out of this year's. That's because
Talking Dead was already taken.
Well, Walking Dead, too. They're not. It's taken, too. But here are the people that were also dead, that were not in the In Memoriam. You had Adam West from Batman.
Aww.
And let me explain why if you're not a member of the Academy, then they don't put you in the In Memoriam. People get really mad about this, but if you're not a member of the Academy, then we have Academy Award winners and nominees that are in this category, but that we're not members of the Academy.
When Tyler Perry passes away, they're not going to include him.
I think he is a member of the Academy, probably.
Really? I don't think he is.
Maybe
I thought
not.
he was anti-Hollywood.
He's done quite a few Hollywood things at this point. Anyway, so Adam West from Batman, Glenn Campbell, who was in True Grit in 1969. He also was nominated for Best Song for the film that was about him with the titular "I'm Not Gonna Miss You."
The song that you wanted to win because you'd never heard Selma until after the fact.
Yeah, it was a good song, though. It's very touching.
It is. Selma still wins.
Tobe Hooper, who directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Which one?
The original.
Okay.
He also had his name on Poltergeist, but we all know that Steven Spielberg actually directed that movie.
Wow. Way to give him his moment and then just poo on him little bit.
It's
just a little. It's like you took a dirty fart and just flung it at him.
I'm just saying, Tobe Hooper makes movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Spielberg makes movies like Poltergeist.
That chunky fart just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you keep flinging it.
I'm sure he was like a second unit director.
Continue on. Who else?
In the film. Okay, Bruce Brown, director of On Any Sunday. Dinah Murrell, who was in The Player and Desk Set and a bunch of other movies. Miguel Ferrer, who was in RoboCop and Traffic. He's the guy that built RoboCop. He's doing all the cocaine, gets blown up by a grenade. Rose Marie from The Dick Van Dyke Show. One of the greatest casts and writing staffs ever. And she was fantastic. Della Reese, Touched by an Angel, also the singer. Dorothy Malone, The Big Sleep, and Written on the Wind, which she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Actually, she wasn't just nominated, she won Best Supporting Actress and not a member of the Academy. Powers Booth from Tombstone, The Avengers.
All these people are not part of the Academy.
Right. Robert Guillaume from Benson and The Lion King. And a lot of people were wondering about Bill Paxton, but Bill Paxton will be included in next year's
Memoriam.
Memoriam. He died too soon.
Too late.
Or too late, depending on how you look at it, to be included this year. So those are also dead. On a very special episode of the Academy Awards. Every year has a theme. This is something I've been saying for years. This year, it was so obvious what the theme was. It was diversity, empowerment, and inclusion. It was both spoken in words and in action.
There were no spoken N-words. I didn't hear an N-word said throughout the whole thing.
No, that would have been the opposite of diversity, empowerment, and inclusion. No. In words, not in words. So many women wore black to show solidarity with Time's Up and the Me Too movement.
During the Golden Globes.
And the Academy Awards.
Really, it doesn't seem that obvious to me this time around.
Well, Meryl didn't wear red. She wore red.
I was about to say, she didn't wear red?
She didn't wear black.
What was she wearing?
It wasn't as prevalent as it was in other award ceremonies this year, but it
wasn't all black.
Rita Moreno, who was an EGOT winner, she wore all black. She talked about, or she wasn't the one that talked about her dress. That was Eva Marie Saint, who wore all black and talked about her all black with red rose dress. Ashley Judd and the other presenters, a lot of women wore all black. Not necessarily all black. Some of them had color in them.
A lot of them had black on it, but I think that's the only difference to me is that you're trying to bring the same feeling of wearing all black to Golden Globes, and this time around it was like, well, we'll have some black.
Yeah,
and it's like, really?
Like Lupita Nyong'o wore the black dress with the gold.
The gold with the black, you mean? I'm pretty sure it was mostly gold.
I think it was a sleeve of... Anyway, I don't care about the dresses. I'm just saying.
That dress was gorgeous.
Yes. Well, it looked like it came right out of Black Panther, which was kind of cool.
Sure.
Or inspired by. Lupita Nyong'o, speaking of, she and Kumail Nanjiani spoke about dreamers. They, in fact...
Dream a dream.
I thought I had a quote about that here. I don't. But they talked about how they were both dreamers and that all America is dreamers, not just immigrants. They made a joke early in the broadcast, which we actually missed because we were still recording. And
my bad.
About Lupita Nyong'o growing up in Mexico and being born in Kenya and how
my bad.
They can just hear Trump's tweets now. So Common actually changed and added lyrics to his performance of Stand Up for Something, calling out the president.
Were wonderful.
Called out the president and the NRA and added lines about feminism. He and Andra Day shared the stage with 10 noteworthy activists, including Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors, Me Too movement founder Tarana Burke, 8-year-old Syrian refugee Bana Al-Abid, 87-year-old Dolores Huerta, co-founder of the United Farm Workers of America, and Nicole Hockley, mother of Dylan Hockley, who was killed in the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings. So if you were wondering who those people were, those are some of the people that were the activists standing on stage with them.
Wonderful. I do want to say that there was a woman in a hijab that was dancing her brains out.
That was a different song.
Was it?
Yeah, that was This Is Me.
Whoops.
But yeah, that was a diverse choir. That This Is Me. It was the theme.
Oh yes, no, I'm remembering it.
They had a diverse choir for Mighty River.
They did.
It was a theme throughout the night.
Common's new lyrics were wonderful, and they definitely resonated a lot with all the messages that are trying to be portrayed here, and really allowing, I guess, the Academy to say, yes, we are here too, and we acknowledge these, and we are with you.
I did one of my live tweets, and I won't tell you all my live tweets, but one of my live tweets was about that song. It was basically Common figured out how to get a standing ovation because he told everybody to stand up. Stand up for something. You stand up whether you believe in anything.
Yeah, and that's when I was making snarky remarks of I believe in pedophilia and that women should stay in the kitchen and like shit like that.
Wow, you went right to it, huh?
Yeah, because it's one of those, if you believe in anything, really anything.
Okay, after several montages explaining how films are important because they help people sympathize with others and thus bringing about peace and understanding, they paid several tributes to diversity, including a tribute to the troops that showed several military films that have told the stories of the soldier. There were a lot of...
And that also included a joke from Kimmel.
Did it? What did he say? I don't remember.
He said that I am sorry for having Matt Damon's face on there.
Oh, yeah, because the Saving Private Ryan clip.
You don't deserve that.
Yeah.
You're better than that.
Yeah. It was interesting because the audience didn't clap very enthusiastically for that. I did notice that. Well, they did clap. They did their job.
I think it's a have to clap, not a I love it clap.
It was late in the broadcast, and they might have been a little confused about why it was there, but I think it's important. And I think it's important noting that they didn't clap that enthusiastically about it, because the point is that films are about all kinds of people and about learning their experience, including things that are not necessarily within the Hollywood bubble.
Everyone watches it. Everyone watches movies at some point or another, and not any one type of movie is going to be to one type of person. It could go to anyone, and that's part of my problem with it, is that as an artist, every artist will say, I want this to reach anyone, and as long as it touches them, then I'll feel like I did my job. Well, then you're not going to be happy if it touches this particular person. Well,
I don't think that was the point. I think the point was that so the Hollywood bubble doesn't include, a lot of these movies would be possibly deemed pro-war, like Jarhead, Jarhead basically makes the point that there are people that are made to fight, and if they live in a time that there's no war, then they kind of snap in a way. You've got Patton. Patton is definitely a movie about
Saving
war.
Private Ryan.
Winston Churchill is the war prime minister. He wasn't very effective in peacetime. They needed him in the darkest hour.
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, all of these movies, as they say in the book Jarhead, there is no such thing as an anti-war movie. If you have war in it, then it's a pro-war movie. And so...
except for Dunkirk, I will say Dunkirk didn't seem like it let war be war without necessarily glorifying it as it would because you're following a soldier.
But you also feel the sacrifices that are being made.
Yes, death is important, and it doesn't necessarily, like, someone die and you move on, like you would as a soldier, but it also allows you to grieve for that.
It allows you to see why soldiers are necessary, why they exist. And so that's what I mean when I say that. It's not necessarily in the Hollywood bubble, although they had it being introduced by an actor who was a veteran. There are many actor veterans. He actually made a joke about how many of you can say the same thing.
Well, I guess there are a bunch of them, aren't there?
Jimmy Stewart. But Adam Driver could have introduced it. He's a huge star. Kylo Ren, he was a Marine.
Or, Black Swan?
Well, Gal Gadot could have gotten up there, but she's not an American soldier.
But that's okay,
you're thinking of Natalie Portman. But yeah, it's Israeli army.
Both of them, I think.
And you need an American soldier. So I thought that was pretty cool. There were a lot of montages, and one was kind of embarrassing in a way because of the whole diversity and inclusion thing, and it actually kind of shows the glaring issue. I think there were, not me, I had no issue with this, but I've talked to some people that felt like it was an anti-white male Academy Awards. And I didn't feel that at all. But watching the Best Actor category where it's basically all white guys, it didn't feel very diverse and inclusive.
I think my problem is that through the need to expand our borders to include everyone, the feeling that you are also included gets lost if you are a cis white male. And I think that's mostly because that you're used to these things, that you're used to a privilege of some sort. I'm not going to go out and say that all men have privileges, or all white cis men have privileges. Whatever, that's a different subject. My point is that you have it where you originally had all these things, and then suddenly all these other things that made you special or made you feel special are getting included to everyone else.
Well, in the short, or in the montage that was specifically about diversity and inclusion, although they were all about it, I don't remember who said it specifically. I think it was a director. He said, watching Wonder Woman and hearing these women cry, it made me realize this must be what white men feel like all the time watching movies. And that,
right. Oh, maybe it's the lack of heroes. You have the lack of yourself being represented. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what I was trying to get at earlier.
yeah, I mean, when we went on the Women's March, and I looked at all the signs, and I was
January.
kind of like, this is weird, because there's so many that are like, Hermione's my hero, and like all these fictional characters, Princess Leia, Wonder Woman, which we were wearing shirts for it too, but it was kind of weird. It was like, where are the real human, like, people that actually made a difference? And then I saw a sign that kind of made me, it clicked with me, where it said, we are the new protagonists of the story. And it was like, it was really just a cry out for representation and things. Yeah, Harry Potter's not about Hermione, but Hermione's clearly the smartest and all of that. But anyway.
Most able, I think.
Sure.
Adept.
But nobody kept J.K. Rowling for writing the book about Hermione. She wrote it about Harry Potter, maybe because she thought it would sell better. I don't know. That could be an issue too. So,
well, you also have the people who talk about how she rewrote it so that Harry wasn't going to go out with Hermione, which I'm okay with too. But whatever, that's more about Harry Potter.
But I think Kumail Nanjiani made the best point. He kind of stole that little short. He was the funniest by far, and also his wife is a white woman, and I think that he.
Is she? I thought she was.
No, she's white.
Pakistani.
No, his. Did you not watch The Big Sick? Anyway, Emily Gordon is a white woman, and he was talking about how she wanted to start a website called Muslims Having Fun, because she gets to experience both sides of things, and I think he had an understanding of experience of the white experience too, in a way, too, and I think most people do through cinema, but he has it in family, and so I think that's what's important, is that we're representing all kinds of people, and I've always felt that way.
Well, I guess the other part of it too is that if you don't know about the inclusion, the gap of inclusion, you don't know what's missing. You have all the men who are saying that this was so anti-white, and I'm just kind of like, is it really anti-white? Were they specifically unincluding white men? Were they specifically pushing them out, saying this?
I didn't get that sense, and I'd be interested to hear more of why people felt that way.
No, I understand, and that's not what I'm saying. You're saying. I'm just saying that, that a lot of the men who say that is how they feel, or they believe that that's what they saw, or that's how they interpreted what was going on, it's because of their lack of inclusion, they're starting to get mad. And I'm just kind of like, bro, you've been included for hundreds of years. You've been the only one for hundreds of years.
I don't know if hundreds is the right. It depends on what region of the world you're talking about.
Well, we're talking about America, and it's still
America's only a couple hundred years old.
And I'm not wrong. You said a couple hundred. Hundreds. Plural.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know how much. Yeah, Moby Dick. You can go back to Moby Dick, I guess. That'd
whatever, dude.
Great American novel.
1776.
So, and I just remembered a movie that might qualify as a lesbian cinema, but probably not. Boys Don't Cry, which is really about a transgender male and a woman, but it's the closest thing. Anyway, I just thought of that. It was from an earlier episode.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Frances McDormand ended her speech with 2 words: inclusion writer, which became one of the most Google search things. It is a stipulation that actors and actresses can ask or demand to have inserted into their contracts, which would require a certain level of diversity
50%,
among a film's cast and crew. I think Spike Lee has always had that in his contracts for his crew. He likes to give opportunities, and has for about 20, 30 years. So that was interesting. And again, you should watch her speech. It was pretty rousing, especially the beginning.
Oh yeah, she knows how to whip an audience into shape.
Yeah. It's the most powerful moment in the night was Frances McDormand's
And that's the
speech.
thing that gets me with all of the Oscars, is that you really have 2 standout moments, and it's because of, well, besides the songs, but you have 2 standout moments from either the presenters or the acceptance speeches that were powerful, and it's not because everyone else weren't there and weren't present or loved it. They just didn't flare. Frances McDormand flared the highest out of all of them, besides Maya Rudolph and What's her name? I should know her name. You said it 3 times.
Oh boy.
You don't know it either. Ha ha.
Well, I haven't seen the girls' night out or whatever.
Girls Trip.
Girls Trip.
I want to see that movie though. Come on. Time's ticking.
Tiffany Haddish. She hosted the Oscars. SNL. I mean, recently.
But they flared the second most, with Tiffany Haddish being my favorite of the two because I think Maya allowed herself to rely to the straight person, where Tiffany Haddish was able to go kind of crazy and really let herself be herself.
Well, they have different styles of comedy, and I think they played off each other well. They should do a movie together.
If they haven't already.
They did a joke about how white people supposedly feel, where they said, a few years ago, we were all talking about Oscar's too white. Now looking at the two of us up on the stage, you're like, maybe it's too black?
Yeah.
So, and that was a joke. It was funny. If you thought it was a serious comment, then I worry about you. And so in action as well, not just in words, immigrants won time and time again throughout the night. And actually that was a reaction somewhat probably to the Oscar So White. The majority of Oscar voters were old white guys, and they did basically have sort of an inclusion rider after Oscars So White, and they specifically diversified the Oscar voters, and we saw that
be
in
reflected.
A big way this year.
Yeah, it was definitely reflected in all the movies that were there. It gave an equal opportunity for everyone's good movie to come out, not just ones that you think are worth it. And I think I don't know I can't remember if I touched on the Rotten Tomatoes article that was talking about it specifically leveling the playing field, and even though it's just a census of what good movies are, it's allowing films like, for instance, WALL-E getting snubbed. It should have been nominated for probably Best Picture that year, and it wasn't. It won Best Animated, but in 2011, I think. But now it's allowing actual good movies by both critics and by fans to be recognized.
Yeah, Get Out and The Shape of Water probably wouldn't even have been nominated.
Get Out wouldn't have.
These
100% Get Out wouldn't have.
It was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, so you got to put it in there. Well, there's one.
That one guy,
jerk,
that guy
who likes Transformers and doesn't like anything good.
He also hates Toy Story 3 and everything else. Fuck that guy.
So anyway, he just does it to troll and get people to read his things.
Dick.
And it wasn't just Mexico. It felt like it was just Mexico because Coco and Guillermo del Toro, but it was all kinds of places.
Latin America won for sure, but I think because we're because it's LA and because it's the United States, and especially for us, we're in San Diego. It's really easy for us to feel that Mexico won. And I have a coworker that I saw him earlier today, and I asked him, like, hey, so how do you feel that Coco won? He's like, oh, it was amazing. I couldn't watch it, unfortunately, but I heard they did the song, and I need to watch it. I'm like, yeah, you should YouTube it because it was wonderful. Both renditions of the song were wonderful, and then having it also in Spanish was
which I called,
amazing.
By the way. I didn't know they were going to sing it in Spanish, but I said that they would sing it in both.
Right, it's 1:15. You can't just have the one rendition. 50.
Rachel Shenton from The Silent Child signed her acceptance speech, which I thought was a nice moment.
The Silent Child also is actually deaf.
Yeah, she is, which is why she promised that she would sign this acceptance speech for her.
She's ridiculously good looking.
This was interesting. This was subtle. They made a habit of putting... Yeah, she was gorgeous. It was a very good-looking couple.
It was ridiculous.
I want to watch their next movie, you know what I mean?
Hey.
Yeah, easy. They made a habit of putting the women's names before the men when appropriate anytime, which I thought was interesting.
The women were standing in front of the men.
Sometimes,
for the most part that I noticed, most of the women were kind of closer to the mic and then they were up against the mic first. Then the man would speak, but they would also kind of step back and let her talk.
Yeah, so that was a subtle thing that I thought was pretty cool. Jordan Peele was the first African American to win Best Original Screenplay.
Yes,
and I can't say enough good things about Jordan Peele. I thought it was cool. We watched the Oscars. Jordan Peele and
Key and Peele was on.
And Nanjiani.
Kumail Nanjiani's episode.
And then we were watching Key and Peele Marathon on Comedy Central, I assume in honor of Jordan Peele. And
or it was
we had just happened to catch the sketch with Kumail Nanjiani in it, which was kind of cool. Frances McDormand asked for all the female nominees to stand with her, which was that was the powerful moment we were talking about. And then Lee Unkrich gave another great speech. He said, "With Coco, we try to take a step forward toward a world where all children can grow up seeing characters in movies that look and talk and live like they do. Marginalized people deserve to feel like they belong. Representation matters." So to touch on what we were talking about earlier, and what he doesn't say there, we need to make more films that look like people that aren't in movies right now. He's saying that it's important that everyone's represented.
I will say this too, is that with Star Wars Rogue One, I do believe, if I remember right, there was a emphasis that there was a character that was Hispanic and had an accent, like a noticeable accent, and when you finally see that representation, especially in a big budget movie like Star Wars, and to feel represented.
But there are no Spanish people in space.
That's racist.
No, it's not. It takes place in a galaxy far, far away. I'm saying that it was weird to me that everybody was white. Okay, but they shouldn't. It's not a Spanish accent. It's some other.
No, but you're.
It's some other planet we don't.
You're screwing away.
I'd have to read the canon. I don't know what accent he had. It was a Spanish actor. The actor had a Spanish accent.
Okay. You just fucked up everything I was saying. Thanks.
Go on, I'm sorry.
No, I don't want to fucking continue.
I'm just saying, he's from space. He's not from Spain.
Everyone's from fucking space.
That's what, yeah, they are.
Why do they all have British accents if they're from fucking space?
They don't really have good British accents. And that was the show that they were, like, fascists, which the British were not fascist. Okay. We're going to talk about, in the next episode, overall commentary on the Oscars and such things. But for now, if you played in my Oscar contest this year, I'm going to read where you stand. So if you didn't, you could just go on to the next episode. With 3 correct answers, Elizabeth Jackson. With 4 correct answers, Ann Gentile. Her brother beat her by 2, David Gentile at 6. Jason. It just says Jason R. I'm trying to remember how to pronounce your name, Jason. I apologize. Oh, Jason Alguazil. Yeah, Arguzel. So it says Jason R. That's why I didn't know. Your last name starts with a G, and I believe it's pronounced Gazelle. 7 correct votes. Leanne Spratt, 8 correct votes. Matt Rotz, 9 correct votes. Alyssa Chrysler, 9 correct votes. Okay. I got 13. I tied with Eric Fox at 13. Mike Miletic and Holly Jessewick. Holly J. Hardy. Not Holly Jessewick. Holly J. Hardy. And he got remarried. He got married this year. Holly Elswick. All right. Okay.
Holly Hardy.
Holly Hardy. 16 correct votes. Tied.
Get her fucking
Mike and
name
Holly. Right. Stella.
Hashtag me too. Fucking get her name right.
Stella with 17 correct votes. And the winner, getting their name on the trophy, Brian Stevens at 19 correct votes. Congratulations, Brian. Your name is back on the trophy again. And that is the 20th annual Sheepdog David Grant's Academy Awards contest winner. Congratulations.